Rather than lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. We are back again and again. We're going to be discussing Renato Sanchez pre-agreement to leave Lille Metropole. There is a mutual agreement there. We're going to be discussing a lot to talk about. ESPN confirming that Ainsley Maitland-Niles could actually be moving to Roma. We'll be discussing that. And also we have a new midfield target in the names of Matthias Svanberg. So we'll be discussing the new potential and what exactly the play is all about. But of course, the big story: Renato Sanchez has a pre-mutual agreement with his parent club to leave this January. Right, red and lads. So make sure you're hitting that button, people. Make sure you're hitting the like button. We need to get this to 300 likes. Make sure we get that, we get that done, and make sure you make that possible by hitting the like button down below on the video. And also make sure you subscribe below there because we have to get the channel to 100,000 subscribers next year. So make sure you get that done as well. It's very, very close to Christmas. It is only hours and hours away, a few hours away from Christmas. So I'm gonna take this chance to say Merry Christmas to every person who's been part of the podcast right this year. It's been an amazing journey. I said it right from last year that this year is going to be amazing. This year is going to be, so good. We've got up to 24,000 subscribers on the channel in this year. So Merry Christmas to everyone who's been involved in the in the podcast, who's been watching the videos. I'm gonna say at this point in time, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your concern and your work and your love and everything you've done for the podcast. But anyway, let's get to the content because Renato Sanchez has a pre-agreement to leave Lille in January or even in the summer, as long as a deal comes in, as long as a bid responsible enough or a good bid comes in for him. Now, this can be confirmed. Look, listen. In the first point we talked about was Arsenal being given a green light to sign Renato Sanchez. I spoke about that, and it's another discussion we'll have in this video, whether Renato will be the one joining us as a central midfielder. I mean, it's not that easy, but Arsenal having it very, very, very easy. Again, another ball in our hands. In the morning I talked about Arthur Melo, and of course we'll also talk about Arthur Melo at this point in time, because it looks like those two deals are so easy for Arsenal to do, especially Renato and Melo. They're very, very easy deals to do. They're very, very easy deals for us to do. First and foremost, Renato doesn't have problems with Leo, but they just want him out. They're just okay to let him go. And the player also has already come out and he said, I feel like it's the next step. It is. I'm ready to take the next step in my career. I'm ready to move on from Lille and go to the Premier League and go to the to Italy. I know a couple of clubs are interested. That is what he said, and of course, he has been talking to his agent lots and lots of the time, and he confirmed that yes, clubs are interested. And we know them, but at the moment, we will wait until January. So now. Reports coming in from France indicate that the player has an agreement. They have reached a mutual agreement with Lille Metropole that player can actually leave in January. Interesting stuff. Very, very, very interesting stuff. So is it part of the priorities in terms of midfield for Arsenal? 100%. Romano already came out and confirmed that in terms of a midfielder, in terms of Arsenal signings in January, they'll be looking at a midfielder. But he also said that Arsenal are long-term admirers of Renato Sanchez. It is not only that they've admired him in this period, they wanted him in the summer, as well as Barcelona, as well as Liverpool, but also Arsenal, were among the clubs that wanted Renato in the summer, but the deal didn't actually materialize. But even before that, we know Arsenal have always wanted Renato Sanchez. We've always wanted to try out a deal with Renato, and this is the perfect time. This is the time for Arsenal to try out a deal with a player like Renato Sanchez. This is a time, if there is a time, if there is a perfect timing for us to get Renato, this is the time. This is the time. So, big up to Stephen, big up to Godfrey, big up to Benjamin, big up to Bangura, as well as others. I'll be getting to your comments as soon as possible. So let's start off with the possibility that Arsenal can't sign Renato, because for me, that is what makes the news. That is what is in the news at the moment. So there is a huge possibility. There is a very, very huge possibility that Arsenal can sign Renato Sanchez at the moment. Number one, you have the player already convinced about his future. He believes Lille Metropole is no longer the home, is no longer the club, where he needs to be playing football. And I think I do agree. Renato, apart from being injury prone, like we've already spoken about that, and we shall not use it as an escape room. We are not going to use it as an excuse all the time on this show, complaining about Renato's injury prone record. Yes, he is, but what if he can improve? We've seen some players do have really nasty injury and bad injury injury records, but then they do improve. So one, the player is convinced about his future. He's set. I think it's very, very different when you're chasing a player who's not sure whether they want to live in January or they want to live in the summer, or whether at all they want to leave their club or not. I think with Renato, it is set in stone. He wants to live. He knows his future is bigger. His talent there is bigger than Lille Metropole. And of course, with all due respect to Lille Metropole, I think they also know there were always going to be just a part in the process of Renato Sanchez being a great player. There always going to be that that little part. I don't think they expected him to be around for around all the time, play with them, and maybe fulfill their ambitions, which I do not know, but I know they are not as big as they are. Winning the league last season, for me, Lille, they will never forget that. I mean, how do you do that? How do you win the league against PSG? How do you do that? And the likes of Renato Sanchez, I think their job is done. A Lille Metropole, it's high time they moved on. It's high time they become important players elsewhere. And it's time for Renato Sanchez to to move on in his career. So one is going to ask, because why would Renato Sanchez move on into his career and then go to Arsenal? I'm going to give you a reason, a very, very, very genuine reason, and we are also going to be discussing that. But point two that we can discuss here, that we have to look at here, is that Lille Metropole are also known anywhere close or willing to let the player, to hold the player, stay against his will. That is really important because, again, in January, what makes transfers very, really difficult is that you have clubs that do not want to let players go, and that's why I said we are so lucky with Arthur Melo. You were saying, you got the money, take him. With Dejan Kulusevski, it's the same story. With Vlahovic, it's the same story. The player wants to stay until the summer, but Fiorentina think otherwise. They think if an agreement can be struck between Arsenal and Vlahovic, they will be able to sell. It's the same thing now again with Renato Sanchez. And I think, look, I've said this and I'll say it again. Our position here, where we are in the league, is so tricky, very tricky. I hope that after tomorrow we will be able to play against Norwich, because games are being cancelled at the moment. So I cannot really confirm that we will play that game. But I pray that we play that game, beat Norwich, and it's just going to give us the kind of sense, the kind of feeling that kind of feeling that we can make it. We can't go into top four because we're eating Christmas. We're spending the Christmas, the Christmas Eve in top four. We just need to focus on that. We just need to maintain that. But the only way we maintain it, the only way Arsenal will maintain that, is if you get in the signings you want, if you get in the players we need. At the moment, our squad is as narrow as a needle hole. even with all our players very, very, very available, our squad is really, is really, really narrow. In the midfield, the likes of Partey, the likes of Elneny, even when they're there, Partey, Lokonga, Xhaka, for me, they're the three players you can rely on. Partey, if he gets injured, it becomes pretty ugly, right? When Xhaka got injured, it didn't become so ugly because, we all thought maybe this is time for Albert Samuel Lokonga. Let's see what Albert Samuel Lokonga can offer on the table. And I think he offered something really good. We appreciated it. We really loved it. But with Partey, it's different. I mean, we're gonna see, in this January, it's very, very different with Thomas Partey. Whenever he's off that pitch, whenever he's not in Arsenal colours, we are going to have a massive, a massive gap in terms of the midfield. So Renato Sanchez is a perfect deal. That is a perfect deal at the moment. Lille are willing to let him go. The player is also willing to join Arsenal Football Club. I mean, there is nothing in the way there. It's only Arsenal making up their mind, paying the 30 million euros because Lille want close to 30 million euros. I know the price is negotiable. I know they will be able to, probably reduce the price, but to around 25 million euros, they'll be able to let him go. So the big question that many people have been asking me is, Cossy, why would Renato Sanchez move from Lille to Arsenal? One, I think, yes, he's at that stage where, in his career, where he needs a bigger challenge, where he needs to be moving on, to bigger things. But I don't think he's going to go to a club like Barcelona at the moment because they're not really going to pay that money for him. They're really struggling. Or Real Madrid. I think he needs to go to a club again, 24 years of age. He needs to go to a club where, one, he can develop as a player, because I'm not really saying he's hit his maximum. He should be coming to Arsenal because he has hit his peak. He's at that level where 2 years from now he can be a great midfielder. So if he comes to Arsenal, we are offering him Premier League football, and I think that is something huge. That is a massive step forward for Renato, moving away from the French League One to the Premier League. That is a massive step forward. And look. Many players want to play in the Premier League. Honestly, at the moment, the Spanish La Liga is no longer the league it was. Yes, the clubs there, including Barcelona, and Real Madrid, the rivalry, the little rivalry, is still there, but it's not the league it was without Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. It's not the same league. It's a very, very, very different league. The Italian Serie A, where could he go? Maybe to Juve, because Juve do want in a midfielder, and we know that they've been interested, in Renato before. Milan as well are interested, but of all those, the perfect destination is the Premier League. And I think that is what Arsenal are offering at the moment. We are offering him a chance to play in the Premier League. We are offering him a chance to play in the world's best league at the moment. Look, I don't think he's going to turn that down. He won't turn that down. Absolutely. He won't turn that down. It is an opportunity for Arsenal to get in Renato, as simple as that. So, look, what I want to say is that there is no frustration between Lille and the player. They are it's just a mutual agreement that the player can leave in January if there is a right offer for him. And Arsenal is the club leading that race. We are on top of the list of clubs that should be and could be getting in Renato Sanchez. So listen, question. Is it the player we need? We've talked about this lots and lots of the time. And today we've been linked with another player, and his name is called Mattias Svanberg, Swedish player who plays just as Thomas Partey. Again, like I said in the morning, I'll be trying to look at him. I'll be trying to find whatever what he does and why Arsenal are interested. I've been able to look at Mattias Svanberg, and it's more like a Thomas Partey. Right, that kind of player who's a fighter, wins the ball back, but also has the ability to move it forward, pass it around, and things like that. But he's so similar to Thomas Partey. Mattias Svanberg is playing at Bologna at the moment. We will be discussing his story in depth, but he's so similar to Thomas Partey, very, very similar. So that means if he comes in, he would be just an understudy, just and understudy to Thomas Partey. I don't even think they should be playing together unless you have a crisis. They shouldn't be playing together as both of them. They're very, very, very similar, Svanberg and Thomas Partey. But what you love about Svanberg is the asking price: 17 million euros to 20 million euros. If you got him, I mean, you just need, again, that kind of player. You just need, that is what you call squad depth. Players, 17 million euros, 18 million euros. You bring them in the side, you bring them at the side. They're always there, providing competition. He would provide nice competition to Thomas Partey. And of course, Svanberg, when he's away, when Partey is away, like it's gonna be in January, then you might need the services of a player like Matthias Svanberg. We'll discuss him, at length. But what I like about Renato is the difference he provides as a player. The difference he's gonna provide as a player when it comes to Arsenal. That is what I fancy. That is what I'm looking at as an Arsenal fan. Right? I'm not looking at a Renato Sanchez who is actually who's actually going to come in at Arsenal and, give us something close, pretty similar to Xhaka. No, because when he comes in, he plays where Xhaka plays. So again, Xhaka would be dropped. Is Mikel Arteta ready to drop Granit Xhaka? There is a big question there. But for me, I drop Xhaka. I drop Xhaka to play Renato. I would definitely drop him. But also, Renato has the ability to play with Granit Xhaka because Xhaka has played as a CDM before. We've seen him, in a couple of times when he's played as a central midfielder, as a central defensive midfielder as well. And he can actually work well because his passing is good. He's gigantic. He can sit in that in that pivot. He can protect the back four very, very well. So again, Xhaka, among his many or few advantages, he can play as a CM and as a CDM. That means he can play as with Thomas Partey, because when he plays with Thomas Partey, at times he's more like that central midfielder. But when he plays like Renato, because Renato has the ability to dictate the tempo of the game, pass the ball around, distribute it very well, and also come forward to make sure that the team has enough chances. Our strikers and forwards have enough supply. Then Xhaka could fall back as a number 6, which I think really has no problem. So we are not talking about disadvantages of Renato today, because I think there is one disadvantage he has, or maybe two. The inconsistency that he has as a player should be talked about as well. So the inconsistency of Renato Sanchez as a player, he's a young player. He has a lot, he has a lot to cover in his career. There is a lot for him, to cover as a player in his career. But he needs to be a little bit consistent, right? He needs to have at least 2 good seasons back to back. He needs to have, because when we saw him, in the World Cup, in the Euros that Spain won, he was really good. Very, very good. I think by that time he was just coming in from Benfica. He was so good. I think that was the time when he made this switch to Bayern Munich. Very good player. But during those Euros, everyone was amazed. Everyone was mesmerized by Renato. And in the recent Euros that Italy won, Euro 2020, again, he was mesmerizing. He was ecstatic. He was really, really good. So can he keep fit? That's the big, that is the first question. Can he keep fit? And can he keep that consistency? Can he give you that, those runs? Can he give you 10 games, 20 games where you see him, do the same thing game in, game out without getting injured, but also, without dropping in terms of form and terms of standard? If he can do that, I think he's a generational talent. Right? It's a generation talent. We've compared him to the likes of Arthur Melo, and I said, with Melo, you've got the flair. With Renato, you've got the flair. You've got the flair and also business. Melo is also a very, very good player. I'll take him over Renato, honestly, because of the flair, and I think he's a better central midfielder. But Renato is a complete package. It's one thing I like about him. He's a complete package. He's got everything defensive wise. He's not a very, very weak player. Going forward, he's a very, he's very, very impressive in terms of pressing. It's really very, very impressive in terms of pressures applied per 90. Is impressive. He can score you a few goals, around 5, in a season. And of course, he's gonna create for you some chances around at least 2 or 3 per 90, right? So I think he just, he just solves our problem. He just comes in to add to that tally of chances created per 90. That is what we are looking for. We are looking for a midfielder that can add to the number of chances we create per 90. We are looking for a midfielder that can add to the number of goals we score per 90. Renato Sanchez, is he that kind of midfielder? Absolutely. Absolutely. He is that kind of midfielder. So look, now this deal is in Arsenal's hands. We either do it or we leave it. As simple as that. I don't think there is any other way. We either do it or leave it. It's the ball is in our hands. Lille Metropole have placed it there. He's up for grabs, and of course, we're not the only club that are interested at the moment, and we are not the only club that are in need at the moment. We need to act fast. We need to act serious because there is Newcastle. However much they have not shown much interest in the player, but with such an opportunity, they'll try to take him. Apart from the possibility that Arsenal can offer him Champions League football and Europa League football, either now or in the future. There is nothing at the moment that Newcastle won't be able to offer. They'll tell him, we're giving you a chance to play in the Premier League, and we're also giving you the money you want. Of course, they can also pay all the money Lille want and all the money in terms of wages that Renato has. So we have to act fast because we are the advantage that we are the big club, in that race. We are the big club. So go in there, beat the likes of Milan, beat the likes of Newcastle, beat whoever is interested at the moment. Getting Renato is going to help us a lot. We've looked at Arsenal's schedule next year, and I said, without new signings, without better signings, actually, it's going to be so hard for us to cling onto the top 4. Very hard. You start off the year with Manchester City, and that is, that only shows you what kind of year it's going to be. It's going to be a very important year in our season. It's going to be a very, very strong year in our season. Can we keep composure? The only way we can keep composure, the only way we can be a respectable side next year is getting in a central midfielder, getting in at least another forward. Look, Mikel has said Mikel is hiding under the curtain. Lloris does that, doesn't he? Lloris does that, hiding under the curtain, doing this and that. He's hiding under the curtain, saying in January things are difficult. We know they are difficult, right? We know they are difficult, but try to negotiate a deal for a central midfielder. Try to negotiate that deal. Try to get that deal done for a central midfielder. If we can get that done, if we can get Renato in, right? Look, our only job will be keeping him fit because we know he's that kind of. He has the class that Arsenal are lacking. He's got he has the talent that we are lacking. He's in terms of going forward, he's better than Thomas Partey. I'm sorry to say. Right, defensive wise, and maybe the overall game, Partey could have more stronger attributes than Renato. But for me, going forward, if you only focus on that progressive part of the game, Partey will be outdone by Renato. But I'm looking at their partnership. That is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the partnership because look, Arsenal, again, do not have a big reason to reject Renato. We do not have. We want his services, but also, if we are scared about him and Partey playing together, they will be perfect. They will be perfect. Look, I think, what does Xhaka do that Renato can't? Maybe Xhaka's defensive contribution is a little bit, stronger than that of Renato. But I think, what Xhaka gives us defensive-wise is also not enough to cover for, to cover for the progressive inability that he provides the club with. Absolutely. Look, if you watch the Sunderland game, he made a very, very interesting pass to a very good pass to Nicola Pepe. But how many times does he do that? That's the question. How many times does he do that? And how many times do players like Paul Pogba do that? That is the question, right? If Xhaka could make those passes, right into the penalty area, like 3 or 4 times per 90, let Xhaka stay. Give him 100,000, more money. Let him stay. But he can't do that regularly. He does it on a very, very small scale. Make sure you're hitting that button, people. Thanks everybody for watching in. Make sure you're hitting that button. And of course, guys, wish me Merry Christmas there in the comments below. As simple as that. Just wish me Merry Christmas. And I'm going to say right about now, Merry Christmas to all you, my big fans, and Merry Christmas to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. So, lads, honestly speaking, I'm going to forget for a little bit until we sign or we fail to sign Renato. I'm going to forget about him, his injury record, and I'm going to focus on what do we get, right? What do we get out of him? Look, at times, you're gonna say, Cossy, why would we sign a player who is so injury prone, a player who's gonna be always out? But I don't know whether the Aston medical staff could do something about him. You never know, right? But this is a bargain. This is an opportunity laid there for us to take. I mean, how many times are we gonna miss these ones? How many times are we gonna sit there and act like we didn't know, we didn't want to? Because this one is food laid on the plate. We just need to get our forks and start eating. That is the Renato Sanchez deal. That is how I view it. Arsenal given the perfect chance to sign him. Just get him in. As simple as that. Just get him in, right? Because the player is willing. Arsenal Arsenal is up. He looks at Arsenal as a perfect destination. There, it's okay, right? Injury prone. Yes, there is a concern. I really can't come out and say just sign him in, just bring him in, just sign him in. But let's try it out, right? It's a good deal. It's a good deal. Less than 30 million euros. I think it's a deal that we can do for less than 30 million euros. And we've seen the likes of Martin Odegaard at that price doing well. I think Odegaard just needs a kind of supportive midfielder. He just needs that kind of supportive midfield. When he plays football, he's receiving from Partey, he's receiving from Renato. Because again, Odegaard is one kind of player that drifts in and out all the time. So when he drifts away, Renato occupies that space, and when Renato drifts away from that space, Odegaard takes it. It just looks beautiful. It just looks beautiful. I've spoken about the likes of Arthur Miller as well. I think Melo is a very, very intelligent player. Let's talk about Melo for a minute before we dive into Matthias Svanberg and Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well. But so Melo, again, today Juve have actually come out and told the world that Arthur Melo is free to leave. They will be waiting on Arsenal, waiting on Arsenal to make a move. Again, look, the easier deal to do in this time is I think both of them are easy, right? Are pretty easy to do. I think Lille Metropole having an agreement with the player to leave in January, they already know that maybe it might be an initial loan deal, whether where the club takes the player initially on loan, and then they sign him on a permanent in the summer. It's the same thing with Arthur Melo. Melo could leave the club on loan, that is Juve, and then sign on a permanent in the summer. What much more do we need as Arsenal Football Club? Honestly, how much more do we need? These are opportunities. Look, we will only have ourselves to blame if we do not bring in more players. If we do not bring in players that will act as a cushion to our season, to our squad depth. We will only have ourselves to blame. This is perfect timing. This is just perfect. So for me, either Melo or Renato, I do not have a problem with any of them. I'll definitely take them. But I think Renato, take aside his injury record, he is the better player. He's the perfect player. Get him in there, right? We all know. We all know what Renato can offer, in that Arsenal side. Now, moving on, lads. In terms of Arsenal and their targets, they never cease to end. They never cease to link us to more players, do they? We are linked with another beautiful midfielder from Bologna, and the name is Matthias Svanberg, Swedish player. They're playing as a defensive midfielder as well as a central midfielder. Now, Svanberg, interestingly, is a very, 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 very good player that I didn't know about. Actually, how many players did I know at Bologna? I think ever since we signed Takehiro Tomiyasu, I've never gone back to Bologna. I don't watch much of the Serie A. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say I watch much of the Serie A and the guy is so good. But I've been able to look at him, and I'm going to discuss with you some of the statistics the young lad has in his game, and then we will decide whether he's good enough for Arsenal, or is he absolute trash? So let's see here. Where are you? Matthias Svanberg, position, position, central midfielder. He plays with 86% on his right foot. Kilograms, 75 kilograms there. He was born in January 1999 there in New York, in the United States. National team, he plays for Sweden. And of course, I think he's also eligible to play for the United States. Currently plays for Bologna. This season, he's played 19 games already, and he's already recorded 1,424 minutes already. Right? He has 3 goals and 2 assists on his name in the Serie A this season. Expected number of goals per 90 this season, 1.3. Expected number of goals and assists, 1.3. Expected number of assists, 1.9 per 90. Good statistics there for the player. Very, very good statistics. Let's see what exactly is the strongest attribute in this game, because that is what really matters when we get in a midfielder. For me, what are the strongest attributes in his game? So his strongest attributes: progressive passes per 90. You have 2.92. Pass completion, 75.6%. Passes attempted per 90, 34.0 per 90. Dribbles completed, 0.7. So if I look at the strongest attributes of his game, surprisingly, you have number of expected goals, which is at 93%. You have number of non-penalty goals, which stands at 97%. You have the number of assists, which stands at 69%, and number of expected assists, which stands at 82%. Right? And the number of expected goals and assists, which stands at 90%. So as a player, I think one is so young, born in 1999. It just gives him that kind of gives him that kind of qualification that he can play for Arsenal Football Club. It just gives him the qualification. He's young. Arsenal looking out for young players, and maybe that would disqualify the likes of Arthur Melo and the likes of Renato. That if Arsenal found a younger player who plays just like them, maybe Arsenal would be fancying to listen more to the side of Svanberg than Renato and the likes of Soniguez and the likes of Arthur Melo. Now, my thoughts on Matthias Svanberg are not yet clear. I'm going to say this, and I will not give an honest opinion about him as a player until I make more research. Because this is a story that's actually breaking in. So I'll have to make more research. Then I talk about him. But if you look at the defensive attributes of his game: blocks per 90, 1.48, interceptions per 90, 1.55, tackles per 90, 1.87, pressures per 90, 15.89. That is impressive. that is really, really impressive. So, touches in the penalty area, 1.51. Look, I think what he has better than Thomas Partey, like I said, for me, when I look at him play, handle the ball, and the way he uses the ball, is more like a Thomas Partey. But I think this is a player who enjoys even getting into the penalty area as a central midfielder. Now, we do not have that, and it's why I'm looking for Renato, Arthur Sonny Guez. I'm looking for that kind of central midfielder that can just give you more appearances in the penalty area, more touches in the penalty area, right? But also, balance, because I think, look, Partey and Xhaka do give us a very, very good defensive, assurance in terms of protecting our back four. But at the expense of what? At the expense of shot creating actions. This lad stands at 2.18 in terms of shot creating actions per 90. So they give us that at times at the expense of shot creating actions, at the expense of Arsenal going forward, right? You need to balance it. You need to have the defensive part, okay? But you also need to have time. You need to spare more time when you go forward. I think Pat has been really, really doing it. Has been making the endeavor. I don't think Pat has been doing it very well. I can't really come out and say that, but he's been doing the endeavor there. So Matthias Svanberg, I think he's a hybrid of is that kind of midfielder who you can term as a hybrid. Man, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry to say that he's a hybrid to Thomas Partey. But when I look at him, I'm going to make more research, look at more scout reports, and then I will discuss him further probably tomorrow. But it looks like a hybrid, right? It reminds me of Jack Wilshere. When you saw Wilshere, I was talking to one of my men today, my man Rokani, Rokani from Rokani Media, and he was telling me that Cossy, England will take some more time without having a player like Wilshere, because Wilshere was a midfielder of his time, but again was a hybrid of himself. Look. I know it makes sense. I know it makes sense. He was the kind of midfielder that could just come in and play basic football, but he also had the potential to play 10 times better than any other player during his generation, during his time. He could do that. He could play as a CM. He could dribble faster. He could play as a number 10. He could do anything he wanted with the ball. Smoking and is it early fame? Is it impatience? I do not know. I do not know why Wilshere really. I think the injuries as well really affected him. But I think with a player who had his injury record, I think he needed a little bit better in terms of discipline, and he didn't have that. I still believe he had, if only he had the discipline, he would have been quite, he would have had quite a better career. Because even if he didn't play for Arsenal, I think, look, Iwobi is playing at Everton, and who is Iwobi? Iwobi is playing at Everton. So look, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is at Liverpool, has the Champions League, and has also won the Premier League. So I think, look, Svanberg is kind of a hybrid, but we'll talk about him at length a little bit later when I do a detailed report. I'm going to start doing detailed reports about players. I'm going to call it the full story edition, where we discuss what we know at the moment, and what we expect to happen, and what the player will be providing with the team. It's going to be called the detailed report. But also on Cossy's Extra podcast, make sure you check out, because I'll be doing how Arsenal will line up with Renato, and also be doing how Renato will be impacting our season and impacting our squad, so that we can actually qualify for the top 4. Right. So then the other story we should be discussing is Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Now, Elneny Partey will be going out in January. That much at least we know at the moment. They'll be leaving the club in January, and I think it's gonna be a blow there, there's gonna be a big blow there. I don't think it's going to leave the squad the same way it is at the moment. But Ainsley could be a turning point. I think the transfer of Ainsley could be a turning point. So what has been said? What has been said? Let me read to you. Let me get to you right this the story from ESPN's James Ole. Big up to you, James Ole. I'm really following you all the time, so make sure you're giving me right information, lad. So this is what they've said at ESPN. They've said, according to James Ole information, Roma is in serious negotiations with Arsenal to borrow Niles in January. It is also understood that there are talks for the deal to be a loan option with an obligation to buy for the coming seasons. That's according to ESPN's James Ole. ESPN quite credible, aren't they? They're credible unless someone has a problem with them. They're quite credible, really credible. Not quite credible, but really credible. Yeah, credible. There. In the evening, we'll talk about Ivan Toney as well. In the evening, we'll talk about Ivan Toney. I think I'll be reacting to Mikel Arteta's press conference in a video that I'll upload later. But in the evening, we'll be reacting to Ivan Toney and this circle of strikers. I've been looking for this. Let me just save this. Then we go ahead. There is a circle going on of strikers who could just replace who could just play at Arsenal, and we'll be discussing that in the evening. So sorry, let's get to Ainsley and Roma and negotiations and talks and everything. So according to ESPN's James Ole, they are saying that Arsenal are in negotiations, are in talks with Roma to see that the player joins Roma with an obligation or with an option to buy at the end of the season. Okay, believable. Yes, absolutely believable. Absolutely very much believable. And because it's coming from ESPN, and it's also coming from a player. It's a link. It's a story linking a player away from the club, a player that I think is actually not very important at the moment, and a player who also will be looking at getting game time elsewhere. That is what I think. I think Ainsley will be like, okay, I need game time. I need to fancy my chances. I need to be looking at more game time elsewhere. I can't stay at Arsenal as an underdog always forever in my life. And he's right. He's absolutely right. So Roma, is it a good destination for him? Look, Ainsley wants to take the next step in his career. And I think what all these players have in similar, all players that want to leave Arsenal, what they have in similar is that they have realized at this point in time, we are at only 50 likes, people. That is still very low, but I do appreciate that we are there still. Let's get them to 100 likes. Please do smash the like button. At least for now, 10 more likes to 60, but our target is 100. And for the video, it is 300 likes. Make sure you smash the like button there below, and also subscribe to the channel when you're live. I mean, I'm going to shout out, I'm going to to read out every subscriber that subscribes on this one. So just subscribe and then type in the chat sub, and then I'm going to wish you a customized Merry Christmas from Cossy's Arsenal podcast and Cossy myself. Do check out Melbet. They are saying that if you want to bet with them during this festive season and also during this campaign, make sure you do check them out. Link is in the video description. When you register, 300% bonus is given to you on your first deposit if you use my promo code Cossy. Bet responsibly. Your capital can go up as well as down in terms of betting. Right. So when we are speaking Ainsley. Ainsley, I mean, it's quite interesting. A fact that Mikel Arteta told him, "Stay. I need you at the side. I trust in you. You're part of my, you're part of the future at this club." Was he lying for some reason? Was he lying? I do not know. Like, people, let me know down. Do you think Ainsley and Nketiah have have a future at Arsenal. Look, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't really hurt to have backup players. But I think what is bad is having backup players who are sitting on the bench against their will. They're players that will be happy to sit on that Arsenal bench. They're players that will be happy to have, to be just to be an Arsenal player, right? And there are players that are good enough and they'll be happy to do that. If a player doesn't want to be here, let him go. He said it in the summer in the summer. He said, all I want to do is go somewhere where I'm appreciated. That means he doesn't feel appreciated at Arsenal. And you remember Mikel said it is a non-negotiable that everyone in the side has to be 100% convinced and convinced and what is said, convinced and committed to the project. So that is there is a big question there. If the player says let me go, how do we know he is committed? I mean, there is that could be a kick in the teeth for Mikel Arteta, as well. Players are refusing contracts and he's holding them and he's telling them, stay, please stay. Yes, please stay. Maybe agree. He loves them, but is it on their will or against their will? That is where Mikel Arteta contradicts himself. But for me, it would be a very good move for Ainsley. Go to Roma. I don't know whether it would be a success at Roma, honestly. But go to Roma, play your style. If it works out, good enough. If it doesn't work out, goodbye, mate. I mean, the likes of Frimpong have also had their careers washed away. Okay, Captain Nemo says, hi, Cossy. If Vlahovic rejects us and David potentially will be available in the summer, what are we going to do about the striker position in January? Like will we stay with Lacazette, Nketiah, and Florian Balogun? Look, with Balogun, I know he's gonna be leaving in January. With Eddie Nketiah, I think he will stay until the end of the season. That depends whether we give him a new contract or not. I think in January, Arsenal might bring in a player on loan. Right, I think I highly believe the Dejan Kulusevski move is going to be a loan option first, right? A loan option first, and then a permanent in the future. So I think two strikers, Vlahovic might not join us in January. Then Jonathan David in January, I don't see it as a deal possible. So what we do, I think we retain Nketiah, Lacazette, but also getting Kulusevski, getting a forward. Yeah, getting a better forward. Captain Nemo says about Niles, look, every Big Six club academy has two or three stars that make it in the first team, and others are sold to. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Look, I do not know what the manager. I don't understand what Mikel sees in Ainsley, but maybe there is. Yeah. Maybe there is. There is something he sees special, right? Special, but you're right. Not every academy graduate is going to play at your club. I mean, look at the likes of Fabregas. They left Barcelona. They were in the academy. The likes of Xavi, Messi, and Gerard Piqué. But the likes of Piqué moving to Manchester United first. The likes of Fabregas moving to Arsenal first. I mean, it's not that it's a guarantee when they graduate there they'll play there. Can Arsenal get a serious striker in January? This according to Eridad. It depends on the money we have. And also on the player. Because Vlahovic, can we get him in January? It depends on the player. Jonathan David, can we get him in January? If we get in a bid that is hard to refuse to Lille, I mean, if you pumped 80 million for Lille for Jonathan David, they'll be like, wait a minute. Are we going to win the league? No. Are we fighting for a top spot, in the Champions League? Yes. Can we get it without Jonathan David? Maybe. Arsenal, get your player. So, I mean, in January, it's going to cost you a lot, really a lot, if you want to get in, a rush signing. Captain Nemo, no. Boniface says, yes, they are in Ateta's plans, but once you are given time and you don't prove your worth, eventually you become a bench material. You're right. You're absolutely right. I think what Ainsley has failed to do as a player, what he has failed to achieve, is to nail down a position where he is important. As a player at the club. If he could do that, then we'll be talking about very, very different stories. Very different stories. Where Rock says Rice is good, but where is West Ham selling to a top for rival? And then John says Leeds Phillips is the best party alternative. There's no doubt Calvin Phillips is a quality player. Yeah, he is a quality player. Very, very quality. But he's not bench material. Yeah, he's not bench material. Sorry. He's not bench material. I don't think you sign him and you sit him on the bench. Alex says the player can replace Partey. Is Declan Rice. John says Jonathan David is another 2.8. Well, what is another 2.8? Welbeck, not good. Let's discuss this at 9 p.m. Let's discuss the striker situation at 9 p.m. The agent has said something. Of course, if you did watch the story in the morning, 2,000 people have watched that story. And I believe at least out of the 1,000 that have watched this, you've already watched that morning story where the agent confirms there will be a transfer in the summer. There is, there will be a transfer in the summer. Is he at 2.8 Welbeck? Okay. My producer. I think my producer will have to put videos of this guy scoring goals in the show in the evening. John says, okay. Alex says, I prefer, Esco, Vinicius from Vinicius Junior from Real Madrid, and Dest from Barcelona. Agent striker Jonathan David. All right, that's Anu, my man, says the problem I have with Edu is that Edu doesn't act faster on transfers. At times it's really, really chilling. Mohammed says we have a chance to sign Renato, but I fear Edu might waste time, like on House Samoa deal, and then it collapses. Okay. Anu says, Cossy, we can get the two players, Melo and Renato. That would be good. That would be good. If you get Melo and Renato, but we can't guarantee them game time not really. Evan says, where do you place Martin Odegaard? Where do you place Martin Odegaard? And Anu says, Merry Christmas to everyone here. Merry Christmas to you, Anu, as well. Where do you place Martin Odegaard? Or how do I rank or rate Martin Odegaard? Look, with Martin Odegaard, I don't know if you are, asking, if that's the question you're asking, if I rate Martin Odegaard, that much. I do rate him that much. I rate him that I still believe he has the potential of becoming one of the best number 10s in the Premier League because he's got everything it takes. Yeah. He has everything he takes. Wishing you Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Thank you so much, Honest. Good afternoon to you. That's according to us. South Sudan tradition says Merry Christmas to you, brother Cossy, with your family. Godfrey says Merry Christmas to you as well. Merry Christmas. Felix says, Cossy, if we were to get Renato, how would we plan him in the light of Odegaard shining in the midfield? Would you drop Xhaka and play Renato? Definitely. I've always been open with my thoughts about Granit Xhaka. I'll drop him. Yeah, he's the player I drop. I drop Xhaka and incorporate Renato Sanchez. I drop Xhaka and incorporate Renato Sanchez. Make sure, lads, you're hitting the like button. We are 2 more likes away from 60. Make sure you hit the hell out of the like button. Just don't mind. Hit the like button, please and please. 2 more likes there. I'm looking at the screen. 2 more likes to 60. Make sure you get that done. Captain Nemo says about Arthur. We can send Renato. So also Arthur. That will make us with too many midfielders when Partey at any return from AFCON. I think it's only one of them. Yeah. I think we can only take one of them. I don't see Arsenal really take both of them. It's going to be one of them. It's going, look, it's going to be one of them, right? But to prepare, I mean, look, it's like when you prepare for a war, you take as many guns as you can, don't you? So I think what Arsenal need is to have as many guns as we can. Victor says, "Happy, Cossy, happy Christmas. All, all. Do you think Arsenal is serious with Dusan Vlahovic? 100% serious. 100% serious. All the reports that have actually, said we are not serious have been squashed away. 100% serious. We are 100% serious. Yeah." Fode says, says, I would like Arsenal to sign a new striker in January. Me too. Captain Nemo says, hit the like button. Thank you so much, Captain Nemo, for reminding them. Hit the like button, people. Right? Let me show this on the screen. So, guys, make sure you're hitting the like button for Cossy. Right? Make sure you're hitting the like button for Cossy. And of course, we've spoken about much of our midfielders there. Okay, this is a reaction, isn't it? Alex says, Nemo, I don't understand you, but I do understand you, sorry, but it's the duty of the team's people who are tasked to look around for players to go to smaller teams and get a striker. Okay, pretty much interesting. Eridad says Arsenal is a serious contender this time, but the club owner needs to inject more money in the January transfer window, which is something that I'm really skeptical about. Is Cranky going to give us more money? I'm really skeptical about that. Very, very skeptical. But we need the money. Absolutely, we need the money. But is he going to give it to us? That man, Stan Cranky. I'm highly skeptical. Highly skeptical. But he's one player that I would it's one thing that I would do. Get more money, get in more midfielders, get in a striker. We can do it, right? We can do it. Chelsea did it in one summer, in one transfer window. We could probably do it as well. Yeah. We could probably do it as well. So people, make sure you hit the like button as well. I just need to chat with you a little bit more. Cossy, you are using are you using Central African time, or East African time? Because in South Africa we use Central African time. I use EA time. But what I can say is I've not received my Christmas, people. So make sure you use my lines to send me my Christmas. I'm waiting for it massively. And of course, if you've subscribed to this channel, it's part of giving me the Christmas and also hitting the like button. But of course, send my Christmas, people. Send my Christmas to my lines there. If you have them. If you do not have them, let me just share with you my line. You should be sending me my Christmas there. Very, very, very 256-705-850-635. That is my line. Yeah. It should be able to display. So Christmas on there. Absolutely. Christmas on there. But for now, I'm gonna say it's been a nice stream. It's been a great stream. People, it's always nice talking to you people. My people on YouTube. It's always talking to you people on Facebook. Make sure you follow Cossy's Arsenal podcast on Facebook as well. But of course, the bigger things happen on YouTube. I'm gonna be reacting to Mikel Arteta's press conference and looking ahead of the Norwich game as well. And of course, we'll talk about the striker situation there at 9 p.m. Much more coming up. My Christmas, my line, is in there. Anyone who wants to send me Christmas, do that, and I'll be very, very grateful. I'll speak to you in the next one.